Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the zoo. The minions with me this evening are Jen
Hello.
and Adam.
Hello.
And as it is once again a Friday, I'm the keeper for this evening, Sanguine. How are both of you doing tonight?
I'm sore. How are you, Adam?
Wait, were you like cracking open some peanuts or?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm doing good. Um, it's Friday, so yay.
Yay.
Yep. And
How you doing, Sanguine?
I'm doing grand. I've just decided what I'm going to have to drink tonight, I think. And I'm trying to decide what type of glass I want to pour it into. I'm thinking a coupe would be good for this.
Okay, why is this? This is the second time I've seen somebody bring up what type of device to consume a drinky poo. And what they pulled out was like a armored foot.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I guess
So-
what type of chalice you want to drink out of?
They were shooting the boot or something?
Shooting the boot. Well, I mean, she is German, so yeah, kind of works around.
Because, yeah, shooting the boot is when you're drinking out of a boot-shaped glass.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to be going for a coupe glass, which is a older style cocktail glass, because I'm going to be mixing up some Grand Marnier, a bit of tequila, and then some lemon juice,
Ooh.
and making that as my drink tonight. And then I'll also have a beer, most like. But in fact, let me decide what type of beer I should have. But yeah, I'm going to have beer and then a cocktail, because I want to see how this tastes. Experimenting with making different cocktails, making different combinations, tasting the different liqueurs that I got. And I found out that a fair number of people seem to not know that liqueurs and liquors aren't the same. They think that it's just people saying it fancy. That is a pregnant pause there.
Yep.
No one had anything to add. Okay, so guess that isn't a good conversation line.
I wouldn't say it's a bad one. It's just more of a okay. Yeah, I guess I could see that.
Yo, sorry, dude. I was looking to start sharing up the stream. Oh wow, yeah, that is a difference.
Yep.
But the liqueur, isn't that more for like a flavoring type of thing?
Yeah, so liquors are your hard alcohols, your whiskeys, rums, tequilas, gins. They are higher proof alcohols. So a low proof liquor will be 60 proof. A high proof liquor will be north of 190.
Ooh.
Whereas liqueurs are much lower proof flavoring alcohols, though some of them can get fairly high proof, like Grand Marnier, which is a liqueur, is able to get up to 80 proof. So there is some overlap there, but with liqueurs, their whole thing is they get flavors in rather than being the primary alcohol. And most liqueurs tend to be fairly overly flavored to drink straight.
Well, yeah, because it probably tastes nasty, right?
They're very strongly flavored, so that you just add a little bit of them to a drink. So, like Grand Marnier, you'll have a shot of that in a cocktail. And that cocktail can be a full glass cocktail. It can be a short glass cocktail. It can be a bunch of different sizes, but you'll have like a shot or a half shot or a shot and a half in the entire drink. So it needs to have a strong enough flavor to carry over through the actual full drink. Which is why it's a stronger, more aggressive flavor.
Well, I mean, it's probably used more for mixtures, right?
That's exactly what it is. That's what liqueurs are. Liqueurs are the flavoring alcohols that you use in mixed drinks. Whereas liquors are the alcohols that you'll drink straight, you'll drink in a mixed drink. So they tend to have a more wide-ranging strength of flavor, with some being fairly light, others being rather aggressive. And hello, Cryptic, hello, K. Shul, and hello, Rotten Corpse. How you guys doing tonight?
Oh yeah, I didn't even check the chat. Damn, see, I'm so.
You're fine.
I am set behind. Yeah. Hey, Sanguine, did you announce what you're making for dinner?
I have not yet. I went on to what I'm making to drink for dinner, but my actual main course is some spice-rubbed chicken cutlets that are just about to come out of the pan. I'll let them rest, then I'll slice them up on a seasoned rice bowl with some pickled jalapenos, a quick crema, and a quick little like half salsa that I mixed up. It isn't really all that complex. It's just a few things, some green onion, fresh tomato, some fresh cut parsley from my little arrow garden, bit of salt, bit of lime juice, bit of vinegar. So just a real quick, simple salsa. And then, like I said, the two drinks that I'm going to be mixing up, a beer, which is probably going to be an IPA with some lime, and then that Grand Marnier and tequila cocktail.
Ah, yeah. Tequila cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
That was a famous Edgar Allan Poe book, right? Oh, wow. That was a bad joke.
That was. But yeah, the cocktail should come out fairly well, though it is an experiment seeing if I like the flavor combination of that tequila and the Grand Marnier. I can't remember if I've ever had Grand Marnier other than in a really complex mixed drink, but
My mom likes it. She'll do it with like orange juice or ginger ale. Usually ginger ale.
ginger ale makes sense. Orange juice, you're just adding orange to orange.
Yep. That's what I do. It's like a orange pop. Very girly drink.
Yeah.
Wait, orange and orange?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Grand Marnier is an orange liqueur. So it tastes like sweet oranges.
So it's like if you put orange juice and then add orange juice with pulp?
It's kind of like adding orange juice to your orange juice, only one of your orange juices has been fermented.
Oh. Ooh.
So it's boozy orange juice to orange juice. But you can use Grand Marnier to make some delicious things, like add Grand Marnier to some melted chocolate and have that Terry's orange and chocolate combination with that slight bit of cognac booziness.
Or if you do something like a little tea cake
Yep.
Adding a little Grand Marnier and orange, a little bit of the orange rind.
Hold
Yep.
on, wait. What's a take cake?
A
Tea.
tea cake.
Oh, tea cake.
Mhm.
A tea
Wait,
cake is a
what's it?
cake that you have with tea.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
it
they
tastes
have
like tea.
different recipes for it. I think the closest I've had was it was basically a little miniature muffin, but
Ooh.
they aren't. I think they're kind of, I don't know how to
They're
describe
kind
it.
of like half between a muffin and sponge fingers.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're denser than sponge fingers, but they're lighter and airier than a standard muffin.
They're nice.
Yeah, they're very nice flavor and texture. They're kind of along the same lines as to give something that you've had, Adam. You remember the financier?
Um, that was that one guy that we talked to in Wisconsin, right?
The financier that I brought for the camping trip, those little cakes, the rectangular cakes.
Oh, yeah. No, totally different.
Yeah, the brown butter cake that I gave you during the camping trip.
Yes.
That is a form of tea cake, effectively.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's that sort of texture. And then you have those with tea. So, like I said, financiers are a type of tea cake. They aren't the only type of tea cake. There's a bunch of different types of tea cakes. But they're delicious.
Well, I wouldn't mind having a couple right now, to be honest.
And Rotten, that sucks that you had a crown come out.
Ew. Dude, was that painful? It's gotta have been painful.
It exposes jagged, fucked up tooth. So I'm assuming, yeah, probably painful. I've never had a crown. I've never had a crown break off either because of that. So I have no experience with it.
No.
Oh,
No.
not painful.
Well, hopefully the recovery doesn't last long. No. We can get back to eating delicious mm, deep dish pizza. The best pizza.
You had to go Chicago.
Yep.
Every time I say Chicago, it just makes me remember they're not even American.
Whoa.
Do you not remember that deep lore?
I remember.
The lesser jet declaring that Chicagoans aren't American.
Ooh.
Good times, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, were you in when I said that I was able to recover my food porn account, Adam?
Nope.
No, I don't think I was.
Or was that right before? So yeah,
Yeah.
I was able to recover it last night. So come next week, there'll be like 4 weeks worth of dinners getting posted on that.
Why did it get booted?
It didn't get booted. It was that I ended up not being able to access it, and then I came up with a way to access it again.
What was the way?
I pretty much sat down and went for fucking any sort of thing that I could think might be the password, and I was able to find one.
So
Nice.
it was what it was kind of like one of those like 80s movies where you're just going through each combination to try and figure out which password would have gotten into your own account.
Yep.
It was me trying to come up with a way of recovering the old password. Yep.
I love it.
So I was able to finally get back into the account. So I'll be able to post on that next week, which will be good. And I'm very happy about that rather than having to make a new one and deal with all that shit.
Well, yeah, I'm actually running across a problem myself with that, and I think I found a solution without having to start a whole new thing. So,
Oh,
um,
very nice.
yeah. Um. So, well, I mean, we'll see that soon.
I'm not saying this to be mean, Sanguine, because I think you've already established that you're a little bit younger than me, but I feel like you boomer matrixed it, is what you did. Because that's what I do. I'm like, what combo was it? Boomer
Yeah,
matrix it, Jen.
Wait, Boomer
it
Matrix.
kind of sounds like I did that, doesn't it?
Yeah. I do that too.
But like I said, I'm just happy that I now have access to it again because that saves me from having to make a new one and then follow everyone that I had followed on the old one and see if I can get them to follow me again on a new one. It would have just been a pain in the ass. But now, all that's resolved. I don't have to deal with any of that horse shit. So I'm just good to go.
Well, now you can find out who's truthful and who's not. And in terms of truthful, rotten corpse. Um, I'm glad things are looking positive for you, sir. Uh, that doesn't seem something I would want.
Were you not paying attention to his story? He's not toothful. His tooth is now empty. He doesn't have the crown anymore.
You stumbled over the joke. It must have been the never mind.
You're hoping that he becomes toothful again.
No, truthful.
Well, now he's a liar just because he's missing a crown? That seems a bit harsh.
No, well, it was difficult to say it over the crowned tooth. So, for him to say toothful, it was truthful. Or no, for him to say truthful, it sounded like toothful. This is next Pixar movie, sir.
No wonder they're crashing and burning.
Oh shit! I don't know. I think it'd be a hit. I mean, what was the last one?
See, like I said, no wonder they're having trouble. It used to be that everyone kind of knew what the most recent Pixar movie was, because Pixar movies were fucking fantastic. So you had to keep up with them. It was, hey, did you get to see the last one? But now they're just kind of,
They've had the Disney effect.
yeah. Every now and then they'll have one that's still good, but most of them are just kind of, okay, that was a movie, I guess.
It was about something.
Yeah. It was about something. It had a panda twerk, I think.
Oh no, that was the Jack Black one.
No, the Jack Black one was the Kung Fu Panda series.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Red Panda one.
That was about like a 13-year-old's period, yeah.
What?
Yeah. It was about a 13-year-old girl going through puberty. And it had the same problem that a lot of Disney and Pixar movies are having recently, where it used to be Disney Pixar. It was that it wasn't that you were fucked up at the start of the movie, but that you had room to grow, to learn, and normally during like the middle point in the movie, people are trying to become someone that they aren't, but they've grown in some ways, but they're also rather childish because they're trying to completely deny what they were before. And then by the end of the movie, they find kind of this middle ground of where they were and what they faked themselves into being, where they realize parts of that work, parts of that don't. So it's this learning to develop and change, but still be yourself deep down. which is an important lesson for kids to learn.
Mhm.
That you aren't perfect. You do have to change sometimes, but you aren't completely flawed. You aren't garbage. So you need to learn where to change, how to change, but also how to kind of stay true to yourself. And that's where Pixar movies were fantastic early on. And then at some point, Pixar decided, you know what? What if we made it so that the end message was, no, you were perfect at the start, go back, don't change a thing? Which is a god-awful message for fucking anyone.
Yeah. It didn't impress, and I admit I didn't watch the full movie. I got this impression from the clips. I do know that there's the stereotype of the tiger Asian mom, but they hyped it up so much with this mom that she came across as a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, that's great. Let's hype that one up.
Yeah. And the thing that's infuriating about that is they have done really good mother-daughter movies before, where Brave is a good example of a mother-daughter movie. Where the mother was fairly demanding, no, you have to do this, you have to do that, and the daughter was being an obstreperous little twit as well at the beginning. But they were both kind of right.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, it was the mother learned the ways in which her daughter was right, and the daughter learned the ways in which her mother was right. So they understood each other and they came closer together, but neither one was exactly how they started. That's a good classic narrative when it comes to that. Like I said, when you have the narrative where, no, you were perfect the way that you started out. That doesn't teach people to change. That doesn't show growth. That doesn't do anything other than tell people you're perfect how you are. Don't fucking change anything. And then you have a bunch of people going around saying, yeah, I'm perfect. I'm doing this right. Rather than, okay, let me see if I'm doing this right. Let me see if this is something that I should change or if this is something that is actually beneficial. Exactly. Both grew into better people. But so often now, the movies don't have that narrative. They don't have the personal growth throughout the story. They don't have that fusion of what is learned and what was. It just becomes a, you were perfect at the start. Why did you even try changing? That was stupid. All you did was you wasted everyone's time. You should have just stayed perfect.
Oh, but we're all born in the wrong bodies, right? So, sorry.
Another good example of a movie that did the failure to understand why the original or why an old version of something did so well. Mulan did the same thing. The original Disney Mulan was a story about a girl who decided to kind of step outside her comfort zone to defend her family. So she tried to become a man. She tried to take on all these responsibilities. And then throughout the story, she found out that, yeah, in many ways, she had become better. In some ways, she had become worse. And at the end, she became a fusion of learning how to do everything that she did when she was in the military, but not completely ignoring all the shit that she had learned before that. And using her abilities from both sides to end up on top at the end of the movie. It was a fantastic story that, again, taught kids watching it that, yeah, you'll have to change when shit gets hard, but you don't want to change entirely. You don't want to lose yourself. You want to make sure that you change for the better, and if something improves you, keep it. If it hinders you, get rid of it.
It's also they didn't give her imaginary limitations. Like when she was fighting, she was doing things that you could actually see a girl doing.
Yep.
Like in the background, yeah, she's climbing pillars, but yeah, I've seen Asian acrobats. They absolutely can do that shit.
Yep.
You know? So, and when she's using like what, a gun? Yeah, girl can use a gun. Or a bow? Yeah, girl can use a bow.
She did things in ways that made sense for her character. And that's what made that fantastic, because it wasn't when she was fighting the Mongol that...
Okay. Let's get down to business.
Yeah.
To defeat the Hun.
Yep.
I don't remember the rest of the lyrics, but Donny Osmond did
they send me daughters when I asked for sons?
Yep.
You're the saddest bunch I ever met. But you can bet before it's through. Somehow I'll make a man out of you. Yeah.
There you go. And honestly, everything that you were saying, it works in it too, because it's, even with the fireworks at the end where she causes the avalanche, that doesn't take somebody of physical prowess. It's anybody could do it. Could have done it.
Yep. And the thing was that, in fact, her not being as physical as other characters allowed her to come up with solutions. Because everyone, including her at the very start, was going, to climb this pole with the weights, I just have to really dig deep and claw at this pole. And if I'm strong enough, I can do it. When no, the answer was, do it smart. Use the weights to help you climb. And that was informed by who her character was, rather than her faking something. It was, no, this is an element of the character underneath the role that she's playing. Whereas you look at the live action version, and the live action version is the entire reason that she is who she is because of birth. She was born powerful. She had to do absolutely nothing in order to become powerful. And everyone was just doubting her power. No, the original, it was, she had some skills. She had a lot of weaknesses. Over the course of the story, she came up with ways of making it so that her skills allowed her to make up for her weaknesses.
Didn't they add some superpowers to the remake, like chi powers or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
They added powers to the remake, and not only did they add powers, but they made the powers entirely bloodline based.
If you could imagine that Mulan is kind of like the Lords of the Rings remake, where they disregard that Galadriel is actually a really powerful sorceress entirely and focus on the make-believe of her being a swordsman. They kind of did that with Mulan.
Yeah, they took Mulan, who it was entirely about coming up with ways to solve a problem, regardless of what your disadvantages are at the time. That's the core of what old school Mulan was.
Yeah.
Because when she does the first defeat of the Mongol army, the one that ends up being a false defeat, she didn't win that fight with standing up and just beating down the Mongols one by one until she was the last person standing and her sword was caked in blood and gore. No, she went, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, we're gonna die, we're gonna die, we're going to die, I have an explosive. Shoot the fucking mountain!
Yeah.
And that was the salvation, not her being able to use magic, not her being able to outfight everyone. In fact, throughout the movie, it was shown that physically, she was outfought by everyone.
Yep.
But the moment that she started realizing, I can't fight like them, I need to think rather than just throw myself at this fight, that's when she started winning. That's when she started being able to do things. She developed the skills, and then she thought through the problems, and she solved the problems using her mind, not just unga bunga strength, or worse, what the live action did of, okay, let's make it so that due to her bloodline, not anything that she did, due to her bloodline, she has magic. And that magic, she doesn't have to really learn how to use that magic. She just needs to open herself up to it. And there's no training to learn how to open yourself up to it. So it isn't going Star Wars, the original Star Wars. It's doing Star Wars, the Disney reboot Star Wars, of you're strong because your bloodline is strong. Which is the exact opposite of what the original story was, which was you aren't able to do everything that everyone else can. Each of the other characters had something that they did better than everyone else. The massive, gentle giant was hands down the strongest person in that entire movie. And there was no competition with that, because there's the scene of them when they were carrying the log, and it's the tall, lanky guy just kind of barely touching the log, then one of the short guys hanging from the middle, big, quiet, gentle giant carrying the fucking log, and Mulan also kind of like hanging on the back because she's not doing shit. She's like half a foot, or not half a foot, she's like a foot and a half shorter than the giant. And she isn't physically strong like the giant is. Each of the characters had their thing that they did better than everyone else. It was what ensemble casts should be. Ensemble should have every character has a reason why they're there. And they have their ability. And it should be that as you go, the gaps between them kind of narrows slightly, but not really all that much. It's more the people that were bad at it become a little bit better as the story goes, but the people that were good at it become so much better. So everyone is just improved by their association with each other person by the end of the story. This is why people like D&D and shit like that. Because when you're dealing with a D&D party, as the story goes, your party gets better at doing what they were doing, but everyone gets better at doing everything. It's just if you focus on something, you become so much better than the person who's just kind of passively becoming better.
You mean to tell me that there's supposed to be character growth when you're playing games amongst other tiers and stuff?
Supposed to be character growth in games, supposed to be character growth in movies. Character growth in general is what...
Who the hell's trying to dictate this shit? This would be horrible.
A lot of people. It's infuriating, though, because, like I said, there's these beautiful old stories, and they're not even that old, that have these story beats. And rather than... It seems like the writers of these stories are doing the exact opposite of what you would see in an RPG progression. Whereas time goes on, it gets better and better and better when you're dealing with RPG progression. This is effectively RPG degradation. It's as things go on, people seem to get more shit at doing certain things, and it isn't everyone. There's definitely people that are doing amazing jobs. There's still amazing stories out there. I'm not saying that everything's doom and gloom. I would argue quite vehemently against the notion that everything's doomed and that the world's going to hell. The world's not going to hell. The world is fucking amazing. The problem is that certain parts are definitely going to hell.
Yeah, how long
And that's why
everybody's living at.
Say again?
No, nothing.
But that's the part that pisses me off, because certain parts are going to hell, and they shouldn't be. We shouldn't just be okay with hobbies, things that we enjoy, getting trashed. We shouldn't be just going, well, this is the movie that's coming out, so let's go watch new movie. No. If the movie's good, if it tells a good story, abso-fucking-lutely, I will love a movie that tells a good story. And I do love different types of meat where it has a good story. But I'm not just going to buy something because, well, it's a new bit of this story. No, it fucked over that story. It killed that story. It isn't the new bit of that story. It's wearing the corpse of that story.
Yeah, at this point, I think I would hope that people are able to recognize the pandering that these people do with the with what they're making for the people. You know, it's, you know, they release a product, be it a movie or music or video game, and it's, you could see they're just trying to get your money, and they'll fuck you over right easily.
The thing is that I originally started out thinking that, well, these were bad because they were pandering. And part of me still believes that. Part of me is now going, I think the reason that they're pandering so hard is because they're going, this is really fucking bad. And the only chance that they have of it being received well at all is if they're able to get people to go, well, it's saying what I want it to say. Which I'm not sure which is worse. Because the first one, where it's bad because it's pandering, that's easier to fix. Because you just stop pandering and suddenly quality can improve again. The second one is goddamn horrendous. Because that means that if the pandering stops, the quality doesn't improve, because the only reason that they started pandering so hard was because they went, this quality is so shit, we can't sell it on anything unless we pander.
It's also pandering done by people who really don't know anything about the subject matter, and it makes it almost laughable. Like, I was watching Chinese responses, especially to Mulan, and like they were like, we like that it's colorful, but at no point did these colors exist in this time zone. So if you're going for originality, like, we can't really give you that because it just didn't happen. And then the magic that they were talking about, they were like, well, regionally it has nothing to do with the story you're talking about.
Yep. But like I said, I think part of it might be that I would say that it's probably a combination of the two things that I said. That part of it is it's bad because they're pandering. But I think part of the reason that they're pandering is because they're realizing this is shit. We need to get something that'll make people say that it's good. And if we find that magic ratio, we can at least get some people to say, no, it's really good. Trust us. You have to watch it. It's good, guys.
Yeah.
And like I said, both of those are as bad as the other. But the second one is harder to fix because it means that there's something more going wrong than just, well, we have a knucklehead who keeps on trying to insert this in everything, so they do ham-fisted writing. And part of the thing that made me think about this is the number of times that I'm going, okay, if they had had a legitimate writer anywhere in the process, they could have made this kind of work. At least enough that people would not have been pissed off about it. There's the example that I've used several times now of the Numidian cavalry in Gaul. There's a way, if you have a good writer, to make that work. There's a way to make a Moor in England during the 1100s work. And I know that there's a way of doing that because most of us probably fucking love the movie that I'm referring to when I say that. Do you know what movie I'm referring to, Jen?
No, but I'm going to make a guess at the Ghostbusters 2016 because I've never not thought that they were plagiarizing.
Well, I'm saying a movie
And
that
I've
managed...
never laughed more at that
movie that managed to make a Moor in 11th century England work. Because there's a really famous movie that, like I said, probably all three of us absolutely love. Or at least enjoy. That had medieval England, shortly after the Norman Conquest, a black man running around. And everyone went, fuck yeah, this is awesome.
Man in tight.
Yes. Robin Hood. Robin Hood.
Is that the one with the guy who
Prince of Thieves
and does something with a spoon?
It's the Robin Hood that Robin Hood Men in Tights is making fun of.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy's name is Achu.
A Jew. A Jew?
Achu.
Here?
Oh. But yeah, it was the Kevin Costner Robin Hood movie. Most people look at that movie rather fondly. It was fun. It told a good story. Is it historically accurate? Fuck no.
No.
But is it fun? Is it interesting? Is it something that you could sit down and watch now and have a good time watching? Yes.
Dude, I think I saw it once. A long time. A while ago. And shit. I think I'm gonna watch it tomorrow. Just to see it.
It's a good movie. And like I said, it has something that is historically inaccurate. But they justified it in the narrative. So that you went, oh yeah, makes sense. Why wouldn't that character be there?
Yeah.
Rather than you going, okay, hold on. Why is this village a model UN?
Why is Anne Boleyn's mom black when her daughter is the whitest redhead ever?
Wait, what? Even back then?
I know, right?
But there's all these stories that they just keep on trying to shoehorn shit into, when you could make some of it work, and you could make it work if you had a decent writer. So like I said, I think part of it is that the writing is bad because they're focusing too much on the aesthetics.
Oh.
But I think part of it's bad, or I think part of the reason why they focus on the aesthetics is because they're going, this is so shit. What we're currently making is so god-awful. The only way that we'll get anyone to say that they like it is if they say that they don't, they're racist or sexist, or they're against gays, or against this group or that group or the other.
Wait, they're against gays and trans and robots in Robin Hood?
Okay, let me say it again. I think part of the reason why the writing is so bad is because I think part of the reason why they focus so much on identity politics is because the writing is so bad that they realize that the only way that they can get anyone to say that they actually like it is if they focus on that shit. So that they now have a bunch of people that will say, if you don't like Ghostbusters 2016, which is an objectively awful movie, the jokes are all terrible. It isn't because they're women that the jokes are terrible. It's because the jokes are god-awful. They do not make you laugh. They do not make you giggle. They do not make you smile. They make you groan because they do everything wrong. They have the wrong sort of comedy in the movie in general, but they commit one of the greatest comedic sins, to my mind, which is they'll make a joke and they'll pause. That can work in certain types of stand-up. That will never work in a movie. If you make a joke and then you pause and you're looking like this is when you're supposed to laugh, it kills every fucking joke in existence.
Yeah, dude.
That's why I started to think that maybe that Hollywood, and actually not just Hollywood, anywhere that requires a writer, that they've been going to like fan fiction writers, because a lot of times it's like they insist on their own canon, whether it's imaginary or not, and it's usually a self-insert at some point. Somehow there's a self-insert. It's usually a Mary Sue, and it is catering to people that a lot of times they don't really know what the fuck they're talking about, but they are trying to cater to people because the writing is bad.
Yep. And I think a large part of it is that they're going for untested writers, and they're letting those writers just do whatever they want.
Yep.
It isn't going to a writer and saying, okay, you will make a story that has these elements, and this is the setting, this is the way that the main group will look, now write it. They're going to the writers and they're going, okay, you have this IP. Do whatever you want with it. And the writers do whatever they want with it, but the writers are kind of shit. So they don't do anything good. And also, they're paralyzed by the number of different things that they have available. It isn't, you're going to make a story and you're going to make it true to this. It's knock yourself out, have fun. So they insert their own characters. They insert their own ideas into the story rather than having to work within the confines.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that there's a number of people that have tried to make the argument that, well, if you put restrictions on things, then that constrains imagination. It constrains whatever the hell you're talking about. And kind of, but more accurately, it makes people have to be more clever.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I tell you to think of any word, one of you, think of any word. Say whatever word you think of. It's not
Pacheco.
really a word. Say again?
Well, damn it. No, I don't want to.
Jen, say
word.
a word. Okay. Cannibalistic Wizard said pizza. Cannibalistic Wizard.
Pizza.
There were a fuck ton of words that you could have chosen, right? The other two were fucking paralyzed by their choices. You went for pizza. Did you feel like you were being particularly creative when you said pizza? Did you think that it was particularly hard to come up with the word pizza? Or do you just go, yeah, I was told any word, pizza's a word, pizza?
See,
because now, if I tell you, instead of thinking of any word, Jen, think of a word that rhymes with lime.
rhyme.
Rhyme. Okay. So, Adam, think of a word that rhymes with time, but is longer than rhyme. It's a bit more of a challenge, right?
Wait, what?
Think of a word that rhymes with time, but is longer than rhyme.
Shit. Offers time? I don't think that's a word. That's a German word.
Not a word. So you could say sublime. You could say a bunch of different words. There's words that meet that criteria. But it's a little bit harder to come up with those words. But also, when you come up with a word that has a limit on it, it gives you that, I did that. That was mine. That was me being, I used my brain and I came up with word. Rather than it just being, fuck, whatever. It makes it so it's more work to come up with the thing. And more work is not a bad thing. More work is a good thing when it comes to creative endeavors. One of my favorite things from science, which is also a creative endeavor in this way, is there was, you remember when everyone was pissed off that Bush, the younger Bush, not the older Bush, did the ban on new embryonic stem cell lines? Guess?
Yeah.
No, maybe? Okay.
No, yeah.
So, scientists wanted to do research on embryonic stem cell lines, right?
Yep.
They wanted to do research on stem cell lines in general. They were just told you can't make any new embryonic stem cell lines. So they went, well, shit. Okay, we'll do all the research that we can with the lines that we currently have available. But some mad bastard by the name, or it was the Yamazaki, by the name of Yamazaki, went, but I really want a new line. So do you know what Yamazaki did?
What did he do?
Yamazaki found out a way of turning any cell other than a red blood cell into a stem cell.
Just like that?
Yeah, you can now, it's called an induced pluripotent stem cell. You can make any cell within the human body other than a stem cell or a sperm or egg, a stem cell.
Jeez.
And you do it by inserting 4 factors into the cell. Those 4 factors are now named after the scientist Yamazaki. They're the Yamazaki factors. So, by putting that restriction on scientists that, hey, you aren't allowed to make new embryonic stem cell lines, a scientist who really wanted to research stem cells came up with a really fucking creative way of meeting the criteria while also being able to do the research that he wanted to do by making a stem cell line that is not an embryonic stem cell line. And the really cool thing is embryonic stem cells have a bunch of advantages over, iPSCs, the induced pluripotent stem cells, have a bunch of advantages over embryonic stem cells. Do you want to know what the biggest one is?
What?
If I make a tissue out of the stem cell that I made from your cheek swab, and then I implant that tissue back into you, you're not going to reject it. If I made that tissue with embryonic stem cells,
Mhm.
and then I implanted it into you, you'd have the same rate of rejection between that as you would a normal implant.
I don't mean to do this to you, Sanguine, but my brain is talking to me about Dolly the sheep, and I'm wondering if this is where this is coming from.
Yeah, what?
No, it is not cloning.
Okay. I mean, I know that was the cloning sheep thing, but like I kind of wonder if that's where they actually went with it, because I don't think that it ended up going anywhere with the cloning thing.
But yeah, it is not cloning that they're doing. It is a new process to make those iPSCs. And like I said, the beautiful thing about it is if you make tissue, which one of the ideas of how to use stem cells is if we perfect the technology, we'd be able to make hearts for people that need heart transplants.
Mhm.
Rather than having to wait for someone who's a match to them to fucking die so that we can replace their heart, or using a pig heart, we'd be able to just make a new heart for that person that they have a 0% chance of rejecting. How fucking awesome is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And that's something that's possible with iPSCs. That was not possible with embryonic stem cells. Embryonic stem cells could do a lot. We would still be able to make the organ, but it would have the same rate of failure as a standard implant. And you would have the same restrictions as a standard implant. So that one change that only happened because there was a restriction that really pissed off a scientist led to something beautiful. It's the same thing when it comes to writers. If you give writers restrictions, they come up with really interesting stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe was written as part of a bet, if I remember correctly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There's a book series that I rather like, which is the Codex Alara. And it was penned by Jim Butcher. And it was a challenge that he had issued to himself to come up with some of the most stereotypical fantasy aspects. And make a series that was good. So he went for really basic ones. How many fantasy series have you read where the elements are utilized as the power for the special people in the setting? A shit ton, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he took, the characters utilize the elements as their form of magic. Another thing that he took was, it's a human culture that is a real human culture from the past that was put into this fantasy world. The one that he chose was, there's the Lost Roman Legion.
Okay.
He made the story about the Lost Roman Legion, ended up stumbling into this new world with all of their camp followers, and being a Roman legion, went about doing the Roman legion thing and conquering everything for Rome, and then realized that they couldn't get back to Rome, so they just made a new Rome. He had a set number of things that were extremely common. It's a massive, world-threatening cataclysm that the story has to deal with. So he has that. There's a royal family that is set up in such and such a way. He had that. The main character has absolutely no powers. At the start of the story, he has that. So he came up with a bunch of tropes from fantasy series, especially from a lot of really bad fantasy series. And his challenge to himself was, can I make a book that works with all of these tropes? And the series is fantastic. It is a really damn good story that is thought out because Jim Butcher is a fantastic author.
Yeah, it sounds like an interesting idea. I get why they do that. I mean, that's what they used to do. That's also why I think a lot of this is like, yeah, not just necessarily fan fiction, but I do lean on that because you notice it's a trend of people not really being able to create their own shit in the first place. Like they've never really constructed a character in a game, or they pay other people to do that part. Yeah, I think a lot of people they're hiring don't have a creative bone in their body. Outside of drawing, like I mean, they do have the odd person who can draw, but like you know, some people can just copy stuff too. You know what I'm saying, Mr. Adam?
But even there, I would say that a lot of the artists that they tend to find for major works aren't the best artists. And Adam might be able to chime in on this. The ubiquity of the Cal art style, where it's just everyone seems to be copying the same fucking art style rather than having each cartoonist have their style, that you would look at art by who's one of the really great Hanna-Barbera. You'd look at art by some of the old classics, and you would immediately be able to tell, oh, that's this person's art. There's a lot of shows that I know that they're drawn by different people, but if you told me that every person that is in the animation studios for each of those is just a nom de plume of everyone else, I would go, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I don't know. If whatever your art style you're going for, you know, as long as it's, you know, there's a weight behind it, but I can't really.
See, I would view it as, and correct me if I'm wrong again, because you're the artist of us. I'm not artistic in this way. I'm predominantly autistic, not artistic. But when it comes down to it, if you're trying to draw within a style, I understand that it's going to look like that style. But it still seems like there should be something that is the you element to the art. Even if it's done in a style, it is your version of that style, rather than just, oh yeah, this is just Cal Arts.
Well, yeah. I mean, you should be able to differentiate between Tex Avery and Chuck Jones and
Hmm.
Don Bluth. But that's that's the artistic style of
Hmm.
the the person who worked it. But at the same end, you still can create simplistic animations and arts without having to resort towards uh, extreme artistic styles. Um,
Hmm.
but that's what separates it, and you can't deny it. Like, yeah, what you were talking about with the Cal arts, um, that is, and I like the Hanna Barbera stuff, and
Hmm.
I guess Space Ghost is booming too. But that is in itself a form of artistic style where it's an easier form of doing animation. But
Hmm.
you can even see that in Japan animation with like what Wonder Boy, you know.
Hmm.
So it's ugh, yeah, no.
That actually brought up a really good example. There was something that was done a while ago by a bunch of mangakas, manga artists, where, as just kind of a joke thing, they drew the characters from other series, trying to draw them as that mangaka's style. But even then, you could tell that, oh yeah, this is in that style, but it isn't that artist doing it. It's still this other mangaka
Oh yeah,
drawing in that style, but putting their own flair on it.
like a crossover type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That even when it comes, it's not just the writing that it's that way. It seems like with a lot of the creatives, when it comes to media currently, at least in Hollywood media and the big studio media, they seem to have lost that element of them, if they ever had it. They're really good at copying a style, but it lacks any substance to it. It lacks any originality. It lacks any element of them. It's just, yeah, it's this style.
Well, okay. Again, I hate to bring it back to it, but if we're talking about the big production studios, um, and animation, we can't help but yeah, there is a conspiracy. We're walking into, there are people who are dictating what works with what. There was a point where we could have had when the Disney Renaissance, quote unquote, came about. There was a point where that could have blossomed into something very nice, but unfortunately, the people who were at the helm of all these studios were, they had other things in mind, allegedly. And so that's where it fractured a lot of very talented animators and artists, and that kind of distilled over time. So, and then even if you want to go into the 3D animation, with Pixar,
Hmm.
the same thing happened with that. It was the same formula. It garnered a lot of money. Unfortunately, it went the same course. Um, and I
I'm
think,
going to say something that I think is slightly scarier than it being a conspiracy. I think
oh no,
every now and then there is the conspiracy angle. But I think more often than most of us are comfortable admitting, a conspiracy isn't even needed. And what I mean by that is a conspiracy, it's dark, it's shady, because it's people planning to do something. When a conspiracy isn't even needed, it means that everyone's already so lockstep that no one needs to plan to do something. It just happens organically. Because everyone at every point where that decision's being made already has a leaning.
I mean, I would say it's more they think this is a plan to make them more money because it worked before. You know, like, hey, CG dinosaurs, that's making us a lot of money. We should do another movie. Hey, world's coming to the end. We should do another movie like that because it'll make us some money. Like, I think that's, I mean, if you want to,
I think some of it's that, but I think where a lot of the issue comes in is the way that we hire for everything now. Hiring isn't done by the people that actually know what they're doing, by the people that know what the job is, by anyone like that. Hiring is done by middle management. And I think that we've undergone middle management capture, where middle management doesn't need to plan. They don't need to plot because middle managers have hired middle managers that agree with them, who have hired middle managers that agree with them, who have hired middle managers that agree with them, who have hired middle managers that agree with them. And now, all those middle managers who are already in agreement, so there's no conspiracy, there's no planning, there's nothing needed, are in charge of who gets hired elsewhere. And they hire people that agree with them for every position that they can manage to do so. So there's no conspiracy at any point, because there's never a point where Smuckatelli needs to talk to Johnson, but Smuckatelli and Johnson will act in the exact same way. That makes sense?
I don't know, Smagatelli and Magatelli. Do they have T-shirts that differentiates them? At least, hopefully.
They might wear a different band T-shirt on their day off.
Okay. Then
it'll be the same genre of music, but it might be a different band.
No, yeah, I gotcha.
And like I said, that to me is a scarier thought than there being a conspiracy. When there doesn't even need to be a conspiracy, that's terrifying.
I mean, at this point, the conspiracy is, I agree with cannibalistic. I am hungry. I think I'm gonna order some wings.
What type of wings?
Mango habanero wings. Like some spicy wings.
Good choice.
Hold on.
Also,
Sanguine, what would you do?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of wings would you make? Would you prepare?
Oh, I make all different kinds of wings. I make Asian flavored wings. I make buffalo flavored wings. I make various Tex-Mex wings, various other seasonings. Whatever sort of seasoning I'm feeling that day, I can make into a wing.
And do you do like a dry rub type of wings?
Depends on what sort of flavoring I'm going for. Yeah, you can do a dry rub that then you just coat with whatever you want to have it fried in. So
Ah.
I've done it where I've tossed wings in a dry rub, let them sit for about 24 hours, then pulled them out, gotten potato starch, tossed them in potato starch, and then deep fried them, and they're delicious.
So wait, and so the potatoes have the flavoring of the.
You do the potato starch. So potato starch is just the powdered starch from potatoes.
Oh.
It's kind of like flour, but you dredge the wings in that, then you fry them up. Potato starch crisps up really nicely, but it's a lighter, crispier outside than you get with like a flour dredge. So I do that a lot for like Asiatic fried chicken. Like karaage is a potato starch coated fried chicken,
Yeah, yeah.
and it is delicious. So I've done a lot of different types of wings also because it has come to my attention that most people think that wings have, or that if you like order wings at a restaurant or something like that, that it has leg meat in it. Do you guys know what that bit that kind of looks like a drumstick actually is?
No, it's part of the wing.
Wait, did you say people thought that
They
part
were
of the
small.
wing meat is leg
There
meat?
were people that thought that the flats were the wing, and then the ones that looked like drumsticks, they thought were actually drumsticks. Do you know what they are?
I mean, I don't know what they're called, but I know that they're part of the
I know
wing.
they're part of the chicken. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the
They're
shoulder. Like, I think it's the shoulder part, but
they're the upper arm.
yeah.
It's the bicep and tricep of the chicken.
Every once in a
They
while, if I had to strip one, I would pull it wrong, and you'd get just a little hint of the breast meat on it. You're not supposed to do that.
Yep. Yeah, the flat is the forearm of the chicken wing. And then you have the wing tips, which would be the hand. And that is normally just trimmed off. You don't get that in most wings. But if you're making wings at home, then you'll often have the wing tip as well. But yeah, the part that looks like a drumstick is actually the upper arm.
Well, I prefer my chicken to be in the shape of a T-Rex or a Stegosaurus.
Right?
Yeah.
There's
Dino
nothing.
nuggies.
I mean, outside of the fact, like a tip might be a little bit fatty, or at least I find them that, or a little gristly, but they're tasty. Yeah, I
Yeah.
still eat them too. Like, just nibble around.
I'll eat them.
They're tasty, they just don't have much meat.
Yeah.
Whoa! And then you find that lady who sits there and she's like, "Check this out." You're
Yep.
like, whoa!
How'd you
Just
do that?
sucks the meat right off the bone.
That's Yeah, I still have to recover from that. Even well,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was about to say, suddenly you see someone do that and you're going, okay, what do I have to do to get you to do that to me?
Hell no! I still need that. Oh wait, yeah. No, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Ha ha. Oh. But yes, chicken. Wing. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna order some.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm still gonna order some fucking wings. I'm gonna have some odd thought processes.
I wasn't really going to tease you for the wing choice. It was just, I just kind of popped away from watching an argument about pineapple pizza. So I was like,
Whoa, hold on, wait.
should
What
I
about
joke
pineapple pizza?
Well, I like pineapple pizza, but I was gonna joke. Well, are you gonna order pineapple pizza with that? Because sometimes that's like war words with some people, Mr. Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, wait. Okay, first off, the pineapple pizza. I can understand if it's like pineapple and something, But what's with the Woolworth? Isn't that a clothing store?
Woolworth?
Yeah.
I think that was a clothing store at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what?
Does that have to do with
I'm curious where you got Woolworth from.
Yeah.
Didn't she just say? And he has Woolworth.
No.
No?
uh, no.
Yeah. But yeah, Woolworth's was a 5 and dime.
Ah. Well. As far as the chicken wings. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it kind of crossed my mind to have some hot wings, but I guess not. Shit.
No, you're able to get hot wings. Go for it.
Hell no. Not now.
Why not? Because you mentioned Woolworth, you can't get chicken wings?
Yep.
What sort of weird rule is that? If Woolworths is ever mentioned, chicken wings are off the menu.
I don't think there's even Woolworths open anymore. But they're getting triggered. Somebody's ears are ringing.
They apparently went off the common market in 1997. Let's see if there's...
Yeah.
any that are still
Damn,
open.
I really wanted some fucking...
Yeah, it went under in 1997, but then ended up getting bought by Foot Locker. And apparently, Foot Locker still owns the trademark.
Foot Locker?
Huh.
Foot Locker.
That's a random thing to have.
Yep. Are there any open Woolworths? There's a Woolworths online. Yeah, so apparently Woolworths is, for our Canadian viewers, apparently it's one of your grocery stores.
Out here we get shoes. Out in the Canuckland, you get foods. Oh, that was a horrible... I'm sorry, Jen.
It's all good. I was like, huh?
Woolworths is apparently a grocery store in Australia.
Ah.
In Australia?
Yep.
Oh, well. For Terry, man. Yeah.
Sounds like a wombat too. Fits for them. It does.
And apparently they...
Wait, hold on.
true-
How's this sound like a wombat? Wait, how's this...
I don't know. It just does to me.
Maybe if you have a heavy enough Australian accent, saying Woolies kind of sounds like you're saying Woolies.
Woolies.
Like it would just, I could see them actually using like a koala or like a wombat as like a mascot too. They probably don't. I could just see it though.
Woolies. Australian for decent retail products. That's not even an Australian accent, Adam.
Yeah, I was confused. What sort of accent?
It's a southeastern Welsh accent.
Nah, it wasn't round enough for that.
I'm trying.
Also, you didn't try to pronounce like 4 L's in a row.
Look, I'm still working on my collection.
You could play that as a game with Terry though.
What?
You could be like, look up like locations that are Australian but are like stereotypically Australian, like wombat or kangaroo, things like that. And he has to guess whether or not it's a real place or not, or if it's just fiction, make believe, we made it up. fire a couple of Jonathan Frakes quotes at him.
Oh no.
Now I desperately want there to be an Australian chain on the Barbies.
On
Right?
the Bobbies.
Right?
Wait, no, that was like a Ringo shit. On the Bobs. See, okay.
I like how you said Ringo after doing a vaguely Ringo accent, and then when you said that it was like a Ringo, and then you did it again, it was Arnold.
Arnold.
Yeah. Rather than doing Paul's grandfather, rather than doing on the Barbies, he did a Arnold intonation for on the Barbies. I can't do an Arnold. I can do a Liverpudlian because of the Beatles movie. And there's just one line that sticks in my head rent-free for some reason. And it's Paul's grandfather. So anytime that I need that voice, all I think of is, it's Paul's grandfather.
I think I'll work on my impressions backstage,
As well you should.
Yeah. I think that's best. And order these chicken wings, yeah.
Yeah, sorry about the pizza thing. It was just like when I think of wings, sometimes I associate it with pizza because that's a deal, pizza with wings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, is that something that you order a pizza and you gotta get some chicken wings?
Oh no, it's just it's usually a deal. It's like some places will do like you buy a pizza, you get an extra pizza, or some people are like, I kind of want some wings too.
For $6.99, you can get a medium pizza and an order of wings.
Yeah, you get that too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you want a little bit of both, but you don't really want both because you'll feel guilty if you eat both. Or at least I used to.
Here's a little insight of the zoo. Whenever I go hang out with Quiz or before, I would go, and he used to live close to a Rosati's, and even if they already ate and everything, I'd be like, yo, I'm gonna order a pizza, and then a big old box of baked mushrooms or whatever. What are they called?
Like stuffed mushrooms?
Well, like deep fried mushrooms, right?
Yeah,
fried
mushrooms.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, give me a big old box of deep fried mushrooms. And then, nobody would really eat them. I'd eat a bunch of them, but then I just leave them in his refrigerator. Not on purpose.
I hope that he gets back at you and he comes over to your place at some point and goes, let's get a blooming onion.
Whoa.
And just leaves it in your refrigerator.
No, dude, no.
I mean, there's things you can use it for the next day, but yeah, no, that would have been soggy and kind of gross, Mr. Adam.
I know. It's not okay. When I order it and I get it, it's not like I'm doing it like, man, I'm gonna mushroom bomb these. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna eat these, and somebody else is gonna eat them, and hopefully, but nobody else eats them. And I probably should just take them home, but.
Well, it's kind of like I'm always confused by your hatred of onions. I'm always confused by some people's hatred of mushrooms. Like, I would agree that not every mushroom is the same. So if you were just particular against a particular mushroom, I can understand that. But mushrooms are awesome.
I like mushrooms. Oh, mushrooms are delicious. And yeah, I would. And Sanguine agreed. That is a blooming onion in my fridge. Every time I'd open the fridge, it'd be like, no.
Oh, yeah.
And every day it gets soggier too. No.
Which is why it would be hilarious, because you left mushrooms in his.
It'd be a sad blooming onion. Or an old man blooming onion, after a week.
That's just mean.
Because for those who don't know, Adam hates onions. Inquisitor dislikes most mushrooms.
Yeah. You cooked.
No,
you
I have
cooked
been
them
able
some
to get
good
him to enjoy mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the problem, most people that say that they hate mushrooms, they don't hate mushrooms. They hate the fact that people cook mushrooms wrong.
Or worse, the only mushroom they've ever had came from the can.
Even those you can cook right.
Yes, you can. You can.
But the problem is every recipe that has mushroom in it tells you to put mushroom in at the wrong point. Every single recipe. Because you don't put mushrooms in after onion. Mushrooms are not a late add. You put mushrooms in before you put oil in. When you're cooking with mushrooms, what you do is you slice your mushrooms or chop your mushrooms, whatever the fuck you're doing with your mushrooms. Then you throw them into a dry pan with salt. You let them start to brown. After they've browned a bit and let up most of their moisture, that's when you can add in your your onions and your carrots and shit like that. And add in everything else that you're going to be adding in the order that it says. Every fucking recipe, though, tells you to cook mushrooms wrong because they tell you to throw in mushrooms after you've already cooked your onions and shit like that, which there's no time for the mushrooms to give up their moisture. The pan is way too fucking wet. Mushrooms need to give up their moisture. Mushrooms are an obscene proportion of just water. And if you throw them in too late, they get kind of rubbery texture. Whereas if you dry fry your mushrooms, which is mushrooms into a hot pan with salt, nothing else, then you get these lovely meaty little bites of mushroom rather than the rubbery texture that late addition of mushroom can add. It's a simple thing, but fucking everyone does it wrong. Or at least everyone that is cooking from recipe does it wrong because every recipe says it wrong. Most cooks know mushroom goes in first. Because like I said, mushrooms are majority water. In fact, mushrooms are damn near impossible to burn because they're majority water. If you completely desiccate the mushroom and then you try to burn it, you can get a mushroom to burn, but otherwise it's fucking impossible.
Yep. I don't judge the canned on pizza either. I think it really does have to do with how they handle it. If you didn't drain it properly when you put it on or at all. Because some of the canned, because sometimes it's what the liquid is in the can with it.
Yeah, all you do is you drain the canned mushrooms, you throw them in like normal mushrooms, you dry fry them, let them get their color. When they've given up most of their moisture, that's when they're good to go on something.
Yeah.
Just like I said, things tell you to throw mushrooms in at the wrong time. And by throwing them in at the wrong time, you get this rubbery texture to your mushroom.
And you think that's more of the reason why people don't want to eat it?
Oh, the vast majority of people that I've met that say that they don't like mushrooms, if I'm able to convince them to give my mushrooms a go, they like the mushrooms. And it's because I dry fry mushrooms.
That sounded very contested, but...
Oh yeah, they will throat my mushroom, no problem.
Oh no. Oh my.
You went there, I had to follow up. They
Sanguine's
will
mushroom brings
swallow
them
it
to
down.
the yard.
Oh no.
If you don't like mushrooms, I'm pretty sure my mushroom can change your mind.
You see, and this is funny enough. This is why Donkey was like, when we were at the Renaissance Fair, Donkey's like, "Oh, this is just regular mushrooms." He's like, "No, dude, you don't understand, sir. If you get it just right,
Yeah,
mushrooms taste delicious."
Mushrooms, when cooked appropriately, are amazing, meaty little bites that are absolutely delicious. Yeah, if you're allergic to mushrooms, that's entirely understandable. But if you aren't allergic to mushrooms and you say that you don't like mushrooms, I haven't met anyone that it isn't because the mushrooms that they've had have been cooked wrong.
Oh no, but I fully understand the allergic.
Yeah, if you're allergic, don't fucking eat them.
Yeah, don't fucking eat them, dude. Stay away from them. I have that same problem too with onions. So I mean,
You
I
aren't allergic to
completely.
onion. Don't fucking lie to people.
I mean, I'm fairly sure that I have the same properties that you do.
As an onion, you have layers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that means you're some kind of off vampire, because onions are kind of in a weird grouping with garlic.
Are they really?
But vampires are driven away by garlic. They aren't a form of garlic. You can't go into a store and ask for some vampire garlic.
Is there a specific garlic? Like vampires?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to make teasing because, like, I don't know. I was going to say something like chupacabra or something.
Oh my
What's that Mexican lizard thingy that eats all the goats?
I don't want to say something. We're live, Jen.
I like
Jeez.
Sorry, Mr. Adam. I'm like, back 10 years ago, I wouldn't have thought twice. But now it's like, can I make this joke? Like, because it's a joke.
Yeah, anytime that I hear chupacabra, my immediate thought is red versus blue. The chupa thingy line. Which, that's just an internet classic as far as I'm concerned.
Wow. Oh, we've crossed the line. I think.
Sorry. The last time I heard it described it, and it's always a documentary that I shouldn't watch. They described it as like a
Mexican goat sucker.
Yeah.
looks like we're gonna have to invade from Michigan again. Jeez.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Adam. I don't like to necessarily just pick on something for that reason, but I was just like, what can I go with?
Okay.
Why do I feel like a crusade launched from Michigan would treat fucking California like Eastern Europe was treated by the Crusaders?
Well, okay. First, we gotta establish a foothold. Okay, so let's conquer the Great Lakes regions, and then we can work from there, right?
You want to start with conquering Gremlin Granny?
Yes. Look, I've had an issue with her since the last
She
camp.
stole the wood from that one innocent group of bull dykes.
Yes, and you know what? Justice needs to be done. So, We start there, and we make Gremlin Granny howl, and we take over the Great Lakes region. And then from there, we'll take over the rest of Canada. It should be easy. Easy peasy.
We do have the weapon to deal with Gremlin Granny. We have the Mace of the Midwest Minions.
You still have that?
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you think I just got rid of the Mace of the Midwest Minions?
I don't know. I don't know anything anymore, man. I didn't think Jen would come at me with the atomic bomb of a joke. All bets are off, man.
I've been coming up with these fantastic little comic strip like ideas, and I'm just like, I have this image now of some Mexican throwing like an onion at what looks to be whatever version of that is.
Hold on, wait. You're coming up with comics of a Mexican throwing an onion at something?
Oh, I've been doing that all week. Not necessarily that theme. It's just like, can I take this one ridiculous thing?
All of them are onion themed, though. Every single one of them is onion themed.
Well, it's like the other day, Sanguine, I was watching Eve and Zell and Sam play. I think it was Elden Ring. Yeah, Elden Ring. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I got the right one. And the person that they're listening to in the game, like the narrator, it sounded like they said the Church of the Cuckoo. And I just had this image of a church with a bunch of priests. And it's the Church of the Cuckoo. And I was like, what happens if you plant a fake egg in the middle of this church? And he was like, I don't understand what you mean by that. I'm like, do they just suddenly act like a bunch of cuckoos and start trying to back it out of the church like a bunch of chickens?
See, you went that angle.
Oh
I thought
goodness.
a church where every hour on the hour, one of the priests is thrust out of the belfry window, makes a scream, and then is pulled back in.
What?
No, I had an image of like.
Do you not know cuckoo clocks, Adam?
No. No, Sanguine. What is a cuckoo clock?
It's a clock where there's a bird that every hour on the hour is thrust out, and it makes a god-awful scream, and then is pulled back in. It's a cuckoo bird.
I was expecting you to say, let me show you its features.
Oh, I can. If you want me to, I can.
No, don't please
fucking
don't.
try me.
They're actually neat little clocks, but yeah. They break easy. They're delicate.
But they're, artistic pieces. They're beautiful.
No, I was going with the actual bird because I had the mental image of, of an actual cuckoo chick trying to get rid of a fake egg. Only it's a whole church full of them. I was like, in all honesty, if I added that as a mod, that'd be like nightmare fuel.
But yeah, if you challenge me again, Adam, I have it up in the side.
Wait, what? Challenge what?
Let me show you its features. I now have a cuckoo clock tab loaded.
Do they have a slingshot when it strikes noon or something like that?
I can fucking show you. See? Cuckoo clock tab.
No.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Cuckoo clock tab. That's a cuckoo clock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were neat. They're creepy when you understand what a cuckoo bird is, though.
Oh, yeah. The fact that they back that ass up in order to knock out eggs.
Yeah.
And then they lay their eggs after getting rid of all the eggs that were there.
Oh, it's the baby chick that does that. It's the baby chick. Like, the baby chick will hatch first and do that.
Yep.
Wait, what happened?
So cuckoo birds lay their eggs in other birds' nests. Then its baby chick, the moment that it hatches, it just starts knocking every other egg out and murdering every other offspring, so that the birds that actually built the nest feed the cuckoo bird offspring rather than their own offspring
Mhm.
that are mostly dead because the cuckoo bird baby killed it.
What the fuck?
It's instinctive. Like they do it so they get more food. They tend to be bigger than the babies would be. So yeah, it's messed up. They're messed up.
It's one of those damn nature you scary moments.
Yo, yeah. I mean, it's all the more like examples of yes, nature is eat or eat, be eat. No, killed or yeah, that's phrase. Dude, I saw a video of fucking a squirrel getting choked by a snake, and then another squirrel trying to save him, and
Mhm.
the other squirrel was just eating the shit out of the snake.
Mhm.
And I mean the squirrels got away okay, but jeez, yeah, dude, fucking damn nature.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a mongoose fight the fucking snakes?
Yeah, I've seen a cobra run away from a mongoose.
Yeah. Because cobra have learned mongoose don't fuck around. And one of the more fucked up things about mongoose is if a mongoose gets bit by a snake, it survives the bite. Do you know what happens when a mongoose bites a snake?
Snake gets dead because it breaks it.
Snake fucking dies.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah, so mongoose can survive snake bites, and they have a bite that snakes can't survive.
On a side note, I will say, um, if for the listeners, if you go on YouTube, um, and you look up mongoose, steel drums, I want to say it's from Trinidad, steel drums Trinidad. It's a very good song. You like it. It has nothing to do with like mongoose eating snakes or anything, but it's a very wonderful song to listen to while you want to relax. It's steel drums. It's good stuff. Mongoose. Goose?
I am having to resist a potent urge right now.
What?
Cuckoo.
It's a
Mongoose?
song.
Goose?
No, it's a song that I've played before.
Oh, the peanut song? Oh, the coconut song?
Yes, the coconut
Oh
song.
no, the
The
coconut song.
coconut nut is not a nut. I have it up in another tab. I'm just collecting tabs for me to play at random times if need be.
Is that a steel drum? Do they have steel drums in that one? I think they do.
I think during parts of it, yeah. Much you get very but yeah, I have that song pulled up in the side tab just because the coconut nut song makes me laugh every fucking time. But it sounds like we fairly well wound down. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's one last thing that I would like to bring up just because it's something that has annoyed me recently
Yeah.
before we close out. So when you guys see a study published by someone, how do you guys read this study? Like if you're in an argument with someone and they say, well, I have a study on my side, and they post a study, how would you read it?
Yeah, I typically read it with my eyes.
But like, what order do you read it in, and is there any step that you do first in order to make sure that it's actually valid?
Oh shit!
I mean, I would try to at least read it, but yeah, I would check to see that it had sources that I could
Yeah,
cite.
yeah. I'd go through it, see what the sources are, and see who the sources are, because sometimes. Oh yeah, my source is this guy who wrote a blog post, and this is what I think is truthful.
So,
This cheese is real.
would you guys like to know the way that when you're taking a science course in college, you're taught to read scientific papers? So that you can also flow through the same process in order to determine if the paper has any even semblance of accuracy.
Are you asking us, or are you telling us what the
I mean,
process
I
is?
I was expected to do that in elementary school, and I was told, yeah, you're going to be expected to do this all the way up to college. So I would
I'm
think we do it in
asking you.
college.
I'm asking you if you would like to know the way that you're told to read through a
Oh,
paper.
okay.
So, would you guys like to? Or do you have no interest in this and I'll just leave it and we can go on?
Sure, sure.
Well, you
So,
can't be a tease.
so the way that you're taught to read a scientific paper is you start with the abstract. The abstract is effectively a summary of everything before the paper and the paper itself. It's meant to be a paragraph or two long, and it just gives you the background as well as a rough summary of what the paper found. So you
Okay.
start with the abstract. It'll be the first thing on any normal scientific paper. You'll see a section labeled abstract. You read that first. Then you immediately skip the introduction. The introduction is absolute horseshit. The introduction is just what has been studied in that before. You skip down to the methodology. And it'd be data and methods is normally what it's titled, or methodology, or data and methodology. There's a couple different names, but you're looking for the section that is something to do with methodology, and you read to see if that methodology would actually apply. So there's a bunch of different things that you look for when you're reading through the methodology. First off, think, would the methodology show what they're actually looking for? So there's a paper that was done a little bit ago. Let me pull it up in the side tab. That it was done during the COVID pandemic. And it was a research paper on the incidence of Asian hate. But there was a glaring, and I mean fucking glaring, error when it came to its methodology. Because it was meant to be a review on who's the most responsible for Asian hate.
Extraordinary fellow. Oh, sorry.
And when it did its analysis, it didn't use police reports. It used only news stories. It used news stories that declared the demographics of the attackers or of the offenders. And in its categorization, where it made it sound throughout the entire paper that it was referring to violent anti-Asian hate crime, it instead included incidents of non-violent hate incidences, which in its group of non-violent hate incidences during the COVID pandemic, it included both private as well as political mentions of China's inability to handle the COVID pandemic as incidences of anti-Asian hate. And then also, in its methodology, laid out that of all the cases that it looked into, and it looked into like 4,000 different news stories of anti-Asian hate crimes, it brought up that the vast majority did not mention the demographics of the attacker. It also mentioned that they only used verbal mention of the attacker's demographics. They did not count if there was video of the attack and if there was pictures of the attacker as data for that attacker's demographics, unless it was mentioned in the story itself. The vast majority of the stories did not mention the attacker's demographics. The majority of the stories that did mention, so majority of the minority of stories that did mentioned them as being white men. That's the gist of what the methodology was. Can you guys point to any major problems in that methodology?
I don't think I can.
There should be a couple glaring ones there. Let me read one quote. I'm having trouble finding the paper, but I looked into it earlier and I wrote down one quote from the paper because it was such a, oh, fuck you quote. So it was as follows. Only a small fraction of the news articles explicitly identified the race of the individuals who harassed or discriminated against Asian and Asian American people. However, in the few harassment incidences for which the news media explicitly stated the race of the offender, the majority of perpetrators of anti-Asian harassment were reported as male and white.
Uh-huh. It's very jumbled.
So, do you guys want me to work through all the different issues with that methodology?
Sure, definitely, yes.
So, first off, rather than using police reports and using police reports that determine the demographics of the attacker, they instead used just news stories. So if there's any bias in the news story to not mention demographics, that bias automatically carries over to the research, which was the crux of the issue also, the fact that they only acknowledged the demographics of the attacker if it was mentioned in the body of the text, but not if it was in videos or photographs of the attack. Means that they're ignoring data in order to cook the books. Also, the fact that they included in their anti-Asian hate crime, which throughout the entire study they were reporting it in such a way that it made it sound like it was violent crime, and you probably heard that in that quote, when the quote was, pulling that up again, explicitly identified the race of individuals who harassed or discriminated against Asian Americans. Most of the article was about the violent anti-Asian crimes. This then swapped to harassed and discriminated rather than violent assaults. And then it narrowed it down even more to harassment incidents. So it wasn't even looking at the discriminated incidents, but harassment incidents that the news stories determined the demographics of the offender. So it was talking about a massive subject, that then it immediately started paring down what it was actually looking at, while also adding in characteristics in order to fluff those numbers. It was cooking the books at every level. because it was looking at anti-Asian hate crime.
Mhm.
It was meant to sound like it was looking at anti-Asian hate crime that was violent anti-Asian hate crime. It then immediately went to non-violent anti-Asian hate crime. Then it went to just non-violent, verbal, not even discriminatory anti-Asian hate crime. So it wouldn't count no Asians served here type stuff. Then it added into that category during the COVID pandemic. If someone used terms like the China virus, the Wu flu, the Wuhan flu, or anything like that into the discrimination. Or not into the discrimination, but into the harassment. So it immediately retracted its definition to a very specific aspect, and then it massively expanded its definition within that aspect to include as large of a data set as it possibly could, while excluding the most important data set in the actual question that it was asking, which was who's the most responsible for violent anti-Asian hate crime.
It also seemed like a blurring of thoughts. Like they didn't know what thought to dwell on in the first place, so they were kind of all over the place all at the same time.
Which was intentional, because that was the result of first contracting from the anti-Asian hate crime to disregarding violent anti-Asian hate crime to just talk about non-violent anti-Asian hate crime, to then retracting further to non-violent anti-Asian hate crime that did not include discriminatory policies, to then expand out to people talking about the Chinese approach to dealing with the coronavirus being counted as an element of hate crime. It was that blurring. Another really good example of this is when you read the methodology of a paper. You should be looking for if there's anything glaring in the methodology that would cause issues. So one of the papers that I always point to, because it is one of the most vile papers ever written due to how fucked up it was, is the glyphosate causes cancer paper. You guys have probably heard that there's a anti-pesticide known as glyphosate that is supposedly a cancer-causing pesticide, right? This was fairly big news about, I'd say, 4 to 8 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that information comes from one paper.
Yeah, that sounds entirely like a leftist. Like, if you were to write that as a meme, it would make no more sense, but it would make more sense.
So that one paper outlines a study. It's called the Seralini paper. The Seralini paper outlines a study where, in the methods of the paper, they ran the study for, I want to say it was 1.5 to 2 years. Sounds pretty good thus far, right? That's a decent amount of time, 1.5 to 2 years. It ran it with mice, which is the reason why the 1.5 to 2 years is a fairly good time frame, where the method of the paper was meant to be that they would subject one portion of the mice population they were dealing with to glyphosate. The other portion would not receive any glyphosate. So far, so good. Everyone in agreement?
Yeah.
So they used a particular type of knockout mouse. A knockout mouse is a mouse that has some genes turned off within it. It's a fairly standard scientific approach when you're doing research. In order to make the mouse a more model species. So knocking out those genes, in some respects, makes that mouse act more like a person than a mouse. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, it would.
The
Wait,
particular
is this
Okay.
the Secret of Nim?
No. It's the mouse responds more like a person when certain genes are knocked out. Because they're genes that people don't have.
Oh, so it's not the isolated colony type controlling the food thing.
Nope. So, sounds good thus far. The particular type of knockout mouse is known to generate tumors spontaneously after 3 months. Does that part sound good to you guys?
I mean, sound good? No, but
It doesn't sound good. And remember, I said that it was about 18 months to 24 months. A year and a half to 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So you have a breed of mouse that spontaneously generates tumors after 3 months that your study is running for 18 to 24 months. Is there a massive problem there?
I should think so.
Let's continue on to the next part. So the way that they would determine the promotion of cancer was by if the mice had tumors. Does that stick out to anyone as strange?
That they were studying cancer? No.
So,
That it took that long to figure out that it was causing it? Yes.
well, no, let's lay out the facts again. So the study took 18 months to 24 months.
Mhm.
It used a type of mouse that is known to spontaneously generate tumors after 3 months,
Yeah.
regardless of what that mouse is subjected to.
Okay.
And then it used the presence and weight of tumors at the end of the study in order to determine the promotion of cancer.
Yeah, no, that doesn't really quite make sense unless it was to see if it prevents it. Prevents the promotion of cancer.
Yeah,
but
because the mouse generates tumors after 3 months. So if you're running it for 24 months, which is fucking 8 times the period that it takes for it to start generating tumors in general, and then you're using the presence of tumors as an indication that the mouse had something that was promoting tumors. But let's continue on to the next portion of the methodology. So, like I said, the original intention was that there would be a control population that didn't get any glyphosate, and then a treatment population that did get glyphosate. So, the treatment population was effectively given a 1-to-1 mixture of glyphosate to water, as well as all its food was spiked about 1-to-1 with glyphosate and its food. Which is an obscene dosage of glyphosate, would you not think?
yeah.
But it gets even better, because halfway through the experiment, the control population also received a 1-for-1 glyphosate mixture.
So they are going all over the place with it.
wait, yeah, they
They contaminated the control group, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the study, when they realized that they contaminated the control group halfway through, the way that they determined what mouse was meant to be in the control group versus what mouse was not meant to be in the control group was they sorted the mice by the mass of tumor.
Right.
So
they
you
had
have,
like a growth on them.
Because they all get those, right? So
every mouse within the study had tumors. and was known to generate tumors spontaneously after 3 months. It ran for 8 times the period of time that it took for these to, or 6 to 8 times the period of time that it took these mice to generate tumors. Then it used the presence of tumors and the mass of tumors to be the indication that glyphosate promoted cancer. But then it also, at the very end, sorted the mice by the mass of their tumors, declaring every mouse above a certain mass of tumor to have been in the control, or to have been in the test group, whether or not that mouse was in the test group or the control group at the start of the experiment. And then they masked the tumors. By the way, the mice were 50% tumor by body weight. So that might sound a bit strange. It's numbers that you aren't used to dealing with. So a 50% tumor by body weight person, if you take a 200-pound person and you made them 50% tumor by body weight, by the end of the experiment, they would be a 400-pound person. Half of their body weight was tumor, which they, again, had sorted the mice into groups by the mass of their tumors in order to determine which one was the control group, which one was the treatment group, because they had contaminated the treatment group. Then they declared that this demonstrated that glyphosate causes cancer because the mice were 50% tumor by body weight.
Yeah, that seemed like a waste of time.
Yeah, the study proved fuck all.
The mice get lumps. Oh, okay. They get lumps anyway. Oh, okay.
Mice that get lumps got lumps was effectively the study.
Oh, fuck. They got them lady lumps.
Yep.
Also, the funniest thing about that study is if you actually read all the data, the mice that were male and were consuming 50% glyphosate lived longer. Yeah, glyphosate, it's a pesticide. It's a pesticide that targets a specific enzyme that's not in humans, is only in insects, and it causes that enzyme to effectively supercharge and eat the lining of the stomach so that it eats the insect from the inside out. That enzyme is not present in humans. The lining material that is consumed by that enzyme when it gets supercharged is not present in humans. There have legitimately been people that have done studies, or not really studies because they were not as officially done as they should have been, where they have just consumed glyphosate. They have filled a glass of it and drank glyphosate, and there have been no ill effects from them doing so.
Other than it probably being really disgusting.
Oh, it tasted like ass, but it didn't cause any harm to them because, again, it targets compounds that aren't found in humans. So when you're consuming a compound that targets compounds that aren't present in humans and you're a human, the effect is virtually nil.
Yeah.
Or in these cases, nil, not virtually, but nil itself.
Yeah, I could see you making yourself sick from the flavor more than anything else, like being like, oh, that's vomit flavored.
Yep. Another good example of a study that had god-awful methodology was the study that most people have probably heard of, the Wakefield study.
Mm-hmm.
This is commonly known as the study that was meant to demonstrate that vaccinations lead to autism. So one of the ways, well, one component of the methodology for that was autism was, according to the study, determined by rectal examination.
Oh, jeez.
That's how it's done, you know. That's where my bird is in my bum.
Do you know one of the major problems with that right then and there?
There might be a couple of few.
The major one is that there's absolutely no rectal examination that can diagnose autism.
No. You don't say, Sanguine.
Yeah.
It's an autistic, you just stick down there?
Yeah, surprisingly, you can't figure out if someone is autistic by sticking your finger up their ass.
Oh. God. Oh, sorry, it's just wrong.
But in the study, the particular person that was doing it was a proctologist. That's what Wakefield was. Wakefield was a proctologist. He wasn't anything other than a proctologist. He was a proctologist. And in order to justify doing a study, you have to be able to explain how the study relates to your field. So the way that he explained how the study related to his field was he performed proctological exams on every child within the study personally. If that just made your skin crawl, good.
Yeah.
Because it fucking well should. So when it comes to you're reading a study and you're trying to figure out if the study is a valid study or if there's some massive fucking problem with the study, 100% of the time, the way that you should be dealing with it is you read the methodology and you determine if the methodology makes any fucking sense for what it claims it's studying. If the methodology does not apply to what it claims it's studying, it's a bad fucking paper.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially if that's what you're getting.
Yep. So every time that you read a paper, read the methods and think through the methods and think through, do these methods actually test for what they say that they're testing for? If they do, fantastic. You can continue reading the paper, see what the paper has to say. If you're going, oh no, these methods are fucked, the paper's fucked. And it's an important skill to learn if you're dealing with scientific papers, to learn how to read scientific papers. But it is that time. Do you guys want to do parting words and head off?
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
Are you awake, Mr. Adam?
He might have died.
And no, I was looking at the wrong mouse. No, come on, Jen.
You're fine.
No. Ladies first.
All right. Well, I hope everybody has a good evening, and you should come check us out tomorrow on Harry's channel. Yeah.
By the way, saying "come on, Jen," it took everything within me to not make an absolutely horrendous joke.
Well, yeah.
And I think you just made it in your own head after hearing that.
I mean, it was surprising, but yeah, you know.
It's not that kind of stream, Mr. Adam.
I know.
So do you want to give your parting words now?
I especially for this show, I enjoy hanging out with you on Fridays, and I hope
Always fun.
in the future I can hang out with you and share some more wonderful conversations with you.
Mm-hmm. And I'll leave off with my standard. If you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you. And with that, the zoo is closed. Have a good night, all.
Bye.
Night.
Goodbye. And now I click